This will define everything for the San Antonio Spurs, as after the NBA schedule officially got released, there are a few high-profile games, but more importantly, a couple of stretches this season will make or break the San Antonio Spurs playoff hopes. We got to dive into a stretch just around Christmas, one in the new year, and a very interesting twist on the rodeo road trip that will have a huge implication on whether the Spurs can make that push to the playoffs and the defining moments of this season that will prove just how good this team is. Check this out from our latest live stream. What do you say we hop into the schedule? Because I know you got a few thoughts on that.
Yeah, let's talk about the schedule. I'm
it.
excited.
Let's do it. So the official schedule dropped today. Now, look, it's hard to get pictures of everything in the schedule, but we'll do our best here. And I'm gonna drag in, we're just gonna go over to here, and we're gonna keep Wemby stats of why not? While we show a couple things. Keenan, I know you had some specific thoughts. Actually, I'm gonna show some things that I got from the article that's linked down below from Express News. They highlighted a few interesting games. For example, the season opener. Now, this one we already knew before the schedule dropped. Same thing with the next one I'll show, but October 22nd at Dallas. We don't open at home till a few days later, but Harper versus Flagg, unbelievable stuff. I mean, Flagg's probably going to be starting, Harper off the bench, but regardless, Harper's going to play better and the Spurs are going to win, so it's not going to matter. Very interesting day. Christmas Day, again, OKC. This is going to be crazy versus the fact that we're getting a game against the champs on Christmas Day tells us, how the NBA views Wemby. I absolutely love that. And then I like this, Keenan. The Austin games are coming back. During that rodeo road trip, a couple games close to home, the University of Texas just up the road in Austin. Like last year, this year's visit to the Moody Center stands to break up what otherwise would be a longer rodeo trip. That to me is such a huge thing in recent times that we actually get to stay at home in Texas during that road trip. This is maybe my favorite aspect, again, of the schedule. I know we did it before, but to me, this, especially at that point in the year, when you're like getting into February, it's like trade deadline season, and there's all this crazy stuff going around, All-Star break, and we're in the middle of the rodeo road trip. Every year, it's a tough part. But to be able to come home to Texas again, to know that we're doing this again, got me really excited.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be fun. And obviously, we know that Texas is Texas football, Texas Austin is just such a huge program there, and what they do there is just huge. So having it there, it's going to obviously just feel exactly like you're in San Antonio because of the fans will be coming out in droves. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting there. So it's great to have that split up the rodeo road trip for sure.
100%. But I know you're focused on a few different things here, Keenan, because look, you did a bit more of a deep dive than I did, and we can't show you the full schedule because you won't be able to see it. It's going to be way too small, but ESPN has it. The NBA website has it. Go check it out for yourself. It's there's some interesting stuff there. Keenan, what is the one stretch of games? I know you got two, but what's the one that maybe stands out to you the most? Like, what's your thing that you're looking most forward towards, maybe scared of? Like, what's the stretch that stood out most to you, I should say?
One that stood out was just our first 11 games right before we get into group play, because like we're in a situation now where like, okay, we are going to start the season off good. We have Dallas. That's going to be a fun game. That's Flagg and Harper, but that's also Flagg and Wemby a little bit, just because two people are like, oh, these could be two generational first number one overall picks. So like a little bit of that back and forth too, and they're going to be guarding each other on the floor. So that's going to be great. But after that, New Orleans, Brooklyn, Toronto, Miami, Phoenix. That easily could be 5 wins. Obviously, you don't know how the season's going to start, but a younger team that's trying to put pieces together gets an easy start to the schedule as on paper like that. That's great. Then we see the Lakers, Houston. Houston's going to be interesting. Then get into the Pelicans, the Bulls, and the Warriors going right, and that's all before we get into our the Emirates Cup, the first game against the Emirates Cup, which is actually against the Warriors as well. But easily that could be 7-4, 8-3 to start off the season. And starting off the season hot in this Western Conference is going to matter so much. It doesn't fully matter when you're playing around with, oh, maybe we'll make the playoffs. But with this team who has real, not just playoff aspirations, but making sure avoiding the play-in aspirations, getting a top 6 seed, that start could be very beneficial. And I think that we need to take advantage of that 100%. So I think the start of the season very much is like, oh, we really get to see what's going. We get to get on a good roll, and then we get into some of our tougher opponents.
Yeah, 100%. I think like and the start of the season, I think, is going to be not only just important for playoff aspirations in this crazy Western Conference, but for a team that's still so young in a lot of ways, but also so new playing together. these first games are not going to be easy. It takes time to settle in with your new teammates. So there's going to be a lot of challenges. The schedule says, hey, 7-4, 8-3, that's realistic for what our team is built like. But there's a lot of other factors we have to consider here. So, like, you know, I also want to just say temper the expectations. I do expect the Spurs to be a playoff team. But I also think there's a real world where we pick it up, post November into December into January, where we really start to ramp up now as a team. The problem is, as we're going to get into in a second, those are the hardest stretches of the season for us. So it's like, it's this really tough mix of like new young team with new teammates. Right at the start of the season is when the schedule's the easiest, so hopefully you can work together on that. If it goes great, awesome. You've beaten up on some teams that are worse than you, ideally, and then you've learned how to play together. But if it doesn't go like that, there are some concerns around Christmas, but very interesting. And I think that answers your question, Juan. For me, my favorite matchups are going to be the ones, I think... my favorite matchup this season, it might just actually be the games against the Hawks, because we kind of control a bit of our own destiny there. But realistically, what I look most forward to in terms of like actual talent versus talent is going to be when we play Milwaukee. I love watching Wemby versus Giannis. I don't care. I know some people don't enjoy watching Giannis play. And it's me neither sometimes. But watching both of those guys on the floor at once, that style of basketball, Keenan, is something that you just can't replicate. Like that is something that you watch that game, you will see things you have never seen before on the court. People are excited for this season, Keenan. It's that itch.
It really is that itch. And you're right. I mean, when it's the Greek freak versus the alien, you think something out of this world's going to happen.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like guys are going to take one dribble from half and maybe feel like you're going to dunk from the free throw line, or just some like 2K where things just go insane. You're like, that it really is video game like stuff, because these two guys are not real guys. So yeah, you're right about that. I love those matchups. I'm super excited because I think the Mavericks and Spurs matchups are what I'm looking forward to the most. And it doesn't only have to do with Harper. It really has to do with the Wemby and Flag portion of it. Because Wemby is a guy who he hears everything and he likes to look for chips on his shoulder, and people being like, well, I think Flag is the best prospect since this, or like, there have been some things said about Flag where it's like instant superstar, could be best player in the league kind of thing. And Wemby's looking around like, did I go somewhere? Like anything that's going to be a slight to Wemby, he's going to take it as someone just directly says he's much better than you. And he's like, no, not going to have it. So I'm excited to, especially opening night, for Wemby to put his stamp on like 30-15 with 5 blocks is easily on the board for Wemby game 1. Just to come out in here and say, 1, 100% healthy. Yeah. 2, we're a real team. 3, he's not ever going to be better than me. There won't be a day we walk where Flag is going to be better than me. I'm just excited.
Sorry, I thought I had to capture the Flag animation, and I didn't. This is the Flag in a Spurs jersey. I was gonna say, this is what he's gonna want to do. He's gonna wish that happened.
Just literally capture the Flag.
I know.
Absolutely.
I wish I still had that, but I don't. But no, unreal stuff. I think that's very fair. And look, Spurs Mavs matchups are always heated. They're always. I mean, maybe not in recent times. It's not as heated as it was, but the fans like to go at each other, right? I mean, any of these inter-Texas matchups, the Southwest Division. I mean, I love.
Dirk and Timmy.
Yeah, exactly. Dirk v. Timmy, and I mean, the Rockets. Like if you go way back, I mean, it was occasional the Timmy versus Yao games. And even I don't want to relive what T-Mac did that one time. It doesn't matter. We came out on top a lot of the time. But some real good stuff there. I like the Southwest Division matchups too. I mean, the Pelicans. Hey, maybe Zion will be healthy. Like maybe that'll be something.
Hey,
right? Healthy
I was
Zion.
Supposed to be one of them.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be one of them.
I know he was supposed to. Exactly, he was supposed to be in this conversation with Wemby and Flag. But hey, what happened, Zion? Sorry, not going to get into that. That's not fair. But yeah, really, really interesting stuff. But I want to get into the other stuff, Keenan. We're talking about, we'll just flash something up here on the screen. We got some of the other schedule bits, and I want to start with this one, and I'm just going to move it here because why not? You talked about this, well, we talked about this earlier, and we brought up the Christmas Day game versus OKC. The thing is, this is a tough stretch of the season. Now, a lot of these are home games, which is good. So we play OKC at home on December 23rd. We go into OKC, national TV, Christmas Day, of course. But then, Utah, whatever. But then we got Cleveland and New York. So we got the champs, and then we got Cleveland and New York all around Christmas and New Year's. There's just 2 days between every single one of these games. It's the holidays. There's all kinds of stuff around this part of the year. And Keenan, as I said, like, this is the time of year where I'm hoping at least that, like, because look, there's no world, well, there is a world, but I think it's unlikely that the Spurs are going to be at their full chemistry right from the get-go, right? I think it is going to take time to learn how to play with each other. We got to see how Harper fits, how Castle is fitting, how Fox and Wemby play together. They're going to learn. They might be great from day one, but they are just going to get better as the season goes on. That's how this will work with new team chemistry. This is when I want the team to really start taking that next step. This is an incredible test for them. And I know the next stretch of games that we're going to talk about is very soon after this, which is why this is the toughest stretch of the season. But this right here, I think, is going to be one of the most entertaining stretches of basketball for the Spurs, because we're playing some high-profile teams, right? Cleveland, unbelievable team. And then New York, again, they keep making these pushes year after year. Iconic team, the New York Knicks, double champs. Like, this is a very fun stretch of games and a very fun time of year.
We had it last year at this time too, because you had to think the Wemby 42-18 special on Christmas was against New York, and then we had the really close game, the overtime game against Denver right afterwards. That really close game against the Timberwolves that we ended up losing. It was one of those stretches where we just couldn't close games. We were playing with these high-end teams, which made us feel, okay, we can actually compete talent-wise, but we just didn't have the veteran either leadership or we just didn't have the play calling or whatever down the stretch to close out these games. And we're going to get into the same stretch around the same time this year. I'm super excited about this stretch too, because at this point, we're going to have 2 months to say, what kind of basketball team are we?
Yeah.
And then we're going to have a month of basketball pretty much. We're going to get into the second stretch here in a moment, a month of basketball to say, how good can we be? Yeah. And after that month, we're going to sit back and we're going to evaluate who is going to work on this team, who will not work on this team. Should we trade anybody, or are we set where we are? And that's the thing that I'm really excited for, because we're getting into a stretch of basketball here, which is extremely interesting.
Yeah, and let's just show it. I mean, you're talking about it. Why not just put it up on screen? Sorry, it's not the prettiest, but it's hard to get so many screenshots ready for a stream. Now, there are games between December 31st and January 6th. There's a couple of games in there, but realistic, maybe
back to back with the Pacers, and then we go to Indiana, and then we're home against Portland.
Crazy.
So that Portland game could be a little bit of a trap game just because we go from Indiana then to home. So those are the games in between the December 31st and the January 6th. It's a back-to-back starting off against the Pacers. So could be a tough Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, the Pacers is such an interesting opponent this year because I don't really know how to judge them. Like, of course, NBA Finals, but without Tyrese Halliburton, I don't really know how to
and
judge
without
them.
Miles Turner.
Well, yeah, that's true. I keep forgetting, bro. Hey, now I get to watch him in my Giannis game, eh? So
no, which is just like one of those things that like those moves go under the radar, and then you're like, wait, Miles Turner's not a Pacer?
Right.
Wait, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I forgot until you mentioned it. Well, I wasn't really thinking of Miles Turner, but he is a very important part of that team. But no, you're right. Like, you got a couple trap games in there, but then you got this stretch here, Keenan. Like, from December 23rd to January 17th, overall is nuts, right? Memphis on the 6th. And again, Memphis is looking like maybe, like, I know they had the whole Desmond Bane trade. That's still weird to me. I don't even understand what happened there. But they still got some great players. Of course, they still got John Morant. They still got Jaren Jackson. They still got lots of nice young players. And then you got the Lakers. You got Bron and Luka and the Lakers. Then you got the Boston Celtics, who, again, like, it's going to be a different Celtics team this year for sure. No Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis. They're probably going to start Peyton Pritchard, whatever. But then you got Minnesota, and then you got the champs OKC again. Then you got that Giannis game that I'm excited about, and then you got Minnesota again. What, like, these easy games, easy at the start of the season, is like tough. Like, you gotta start hot, Keenan. This is exactly why, because look at this insane stretch of games. Now, I do have full faith that the Spurs are going to be able to get through this with some great results, but like, I can't help but feel like, holy crap, schedule makers. Like, I know, I want to say the West is a bloodbath, but there's a couple games against Eastern Conference opponents sprinkled in there too. This is not going to be an easy time of year, from December to January, and then again, we got the rodeo road trip very soon after this. So it's a crazy time of year, and I think this is what might very well just make or break our season, this 1 month of basketball.
I 100% agree. And if you add the 2 games in between there, that's 14 games. If the Spurs are 500 throughout that stretch, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy. If they can get above 500, great. If they're like a game or 2 below, depending on where we are, that's why we have to make work of what we did early if we're really looking to get one of those top 6. Because during this stretch, you also have to think, so that we're at Memphis and then home for LA on a back-to-back. That's incredibly tough. The nationally televised game on Wednesday for sure. And then Boston, sure, they're going to be a lesser team, but that team's going to have the first time they're playing with like really without expectations for the last few years. So they're going to just be like, Jaylen Brown's like, okay, let me go try to get all second, like first team NBA kind of thing. Like he's going to go out there and be playing.
Oh, yeah.
Peyton Pritchard obviously can play. We know what Derek White can do. He's obviously been here for a while. So, and also that's going to be Luke Cornett's return to Boston.
Yeah.
Not that Luke Cornett Cornett's a superstar, but still interesting. Hey, he's a superstar in his role. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's right.
100%. But like the back-to-back going from Boston to then Minnesota and then one day in between and then going to Oklahoma City.
Nuts.
Golly. Like that's tough. And then you're now, okay, we're going to Oklahoma City, one game in between, going home for Giannis. Okay, then we're staying at home, and then we got Anthony Edwards coming into town. It's like, okay, that's a really easy, but like that's the stretch of basketball, and that's the time that's going to be like, oh, this team can go actually compete in the playoffs this year. This team needs a change, or this team just doesn't have it. Like that's where we're going to figure out what this team is during that stretch of basketball, and that I'm excited for as well. So that's another thing that I'm very excited for to see on this year.